May 29, 1940, English Channel, Dover's white cliffs barely visible through the smoke. Charles Lightoller, 66, gray beard soaked with seawater, gripped the wheel of his fishing boat. Behind him, Dunkirk burning, black smoke columns rising into the sky. Around him, 127 soldiers packed onto a deck built for 20. Faces covered in blood and oil, some wrapped in bandages, all silent, watching the old fisherman navigate through hell. German dive bombers circled overhead, distant thunder promising death. The brass compass in his coat pocket, the same one that saved him from Titanic's icy water 28 years ago, was all he trusted now. His engine groaned under impossible weight. One soldier, eyes hollow with exhaustion, whispered, "How are we still floating?" Lightoller touched the compass through his wool sweater. He knew something about physics and faith these boys didn't. What he'd learned the night 1,500 people died was about to save 127 more. This wasn't his first impossible voyage. It would be his last. Surrey, 1940. Charles Lightoller polished the brass compass every morning. Same ritual for 28 years. Former second officer of RMS Titanic. The public knew him as the hero officer who survived when 1,500 didn't. What they didn't know, he still slept fully clothed, packed bag by the door, father's compass on the nightstand. His wife stopped asking why decades ago. She'd seen that look. April 15, 1912. The look of a man who followed orders and watched people freeze to death. Now he ran a small fishing business on the Thames, maintaining his yacht Sundowner like it was a lifeboat. Because to him, it was. Every morning, polish compass, check BBC, inspect hull, calculate currents. His neighbors thought he was obsessed. His wife knew better. He was preparing. On May 26th, the BBC broadcast changed everything. British Expeditionary Force surrounded at Dunkirk. Lightoller walked to his safe, pulled out his Titanic logbook, pages filled with current calculations from that frozen night. He'd spent 28 years learning what killed those people. Now, he'd use it to save new ones. May 27, 1940, Lightoller spread channel maps across his kitchen table. His son watched him plot currents using 1912 North Atlantic iceberg drift data. "You're using Titanic coordinates for Dunkirk?" his son asked. Lightoller's finger traced underwater topography. The channel's flow mirrored the coordinates where Titanic sank. Same physics, different ocean, identical patterns. He called former Royal Navy contacts, all evacuated already. His son volunteered to crew. "No," Lightoller said, "not both of us." He loaded Sundowner with every rope, blanket, flotation device from the boathouse. Final check, fuel, compass, Titanic medal for luck. His wife appeared at the dock. "Not again," he kissed her forehead. "This time I choose who lives." He sailed at dawn, May 28th. Neighbors waved, thinking he was fleeing to Ireland. His wife knew different. She'd married a man haunted by 1,500 ghosts. Now he was sailing toward 400,000 more. The brass compass sat in his coat pocket, same compass that kept him alive when the North Atlantic tried to kill him. He'd need it again. May 28th, English Channel. Smoke visible 30 miles from Dover. Lightoller pushed Sundowner's throttle forward, passing Royal Navy destroyers heading to Dunkirk. Officers waved him back. Civilian craft, wrong direction. He ignored them. First sight of Dunkirk beach hit him like ice water. 400,000 men, waiting in lines stretching into the sea. He counted boats, maybe 700 total, mostly Navy destroyers. He did the math in his head. Same calculations he'd done watching Titanic's lifeboats row away half empty. Not enough boats, not fast enough. German Stukas overhead, bombs hitting water, hitting boats, hitting men. Soldiers waded toward him chest deep in cold water. British officers shouted from the beach, "Turn back, civilian craft. You'll be killed." Lightoller reached into his coat, pulled out his Titanic discharge papers, held them high. One officer recognized the name, went silent. "I've seen men freeze and drown," Lightoller called back. "These boys will burn and drown instead. Not today." He turned Sundowner toward the east mole. The compass needle steadied. 28 years of guilt weighed less than what he was about to attempt. May 29th, Dunkirk, East Mole. Soldiers everywhere, dirty, bleeding, exhausted. Standard maritime procedure, 21 people maximum on a 58-foot yacht. Lightoller studied the crowd, then made a decision that would have gotten him arrested in peacetime. 50 below deck, he ordered. 77 on deck. Soldiers stared. One sergeant protested. "Sir, this boat will capsize. Basic physics." Lightoller pulled out the brass compass. "This kept me alive in the North Atlantic when physics said I should be dead. Trust it." He used the Titanic lifeboat stacking method, the one they should have used but didn't. Knees locked, standing room only, weight distributed precisely. He counted 127 men aboard. Sundowner sat 6 inches above waterline. The engine strained, hull groaned, but it held. The last soldier to board looked terrified. "What if we sink?" Lightoller met his eyes. "Then we all go together. Nobody gets left behind this time." He turned Sundowner toward England. The boat wasn't designed for this, neither was he, but Titanic taught him that design specifications meant nothing when people needed saving. He pushed the throttle forward. The impossible cargo began moving. Midday, May 29th, 18 miles to Dover, German planes circling like sharks. The engine overheated from the weight, temperature gauge in the red, speed dropping to 4 knots. Soldiers bailed water with helmets, empty shell casings, bare hands, anything that floated. A Stuka dive bomber locked on. The soldiers couldn't move, packed too tight, nowhere to go. Lightoller watched it descend. At the last second he cut the engine. Sundowner drifted. The Stuka overshot, bombs hitting water 200 yards away. He restarted the engine on the second try. Now he used the channel current he'd mapped from Titanic data, the flow pattern that carried icebergs south, then east. He navigated by compass alone, maps destroyed, smoke blinding, but the needle never lied. Below deck, a soldier vomited from diesel fumes, chain reaction. 20 men retching in the dark. Lightoller's solution: sing. The soldiers thought he was insane. Sing loud drowns the fear, gives you rhythm. They sang It's a Long Way to Tipperary for 4 hours straight. The same song Titanic passengers sang in lifeboats. Music didn't save them then. Maybe it would now. 10 miles from Dover. Fuel gauge empty. Engine sputtering. Lightoller remembered Titanic's final drift. How the ship listed. How the icebergs followed underwater currents he didn't understand. Until too late. He understood now. He cut the engine completely. Used the compass to find the tidal flow. Let the A-day channel current carry Sundowner toward Dover. Soldiers panicked. "We're drifting backwards." "No," Lightoller said calmly, like teaching a navigation class. "Watch." The current pulled them 3 miles south, then swept east toward Dover, exact pattern he'd calculated from Titanic's drift data. A German patrol boat spotted them. Came close, Nazis laughing, pointing at the sinking British pleasure boat. Lightoller and his 127 passengers stayed frozen, silent. The patrol boat moved on. Once it disappeared, Lightoller restarted the engine on fumes, literally the last drops of fuel, pushing them forward. One soldier asked, "How did you know?" Lightoller touched the compass. "I learned it the hard way." April 15, 1912. Sometimes survival isn't about power, it's about surrender. The current did the rest. Dover appeared through the smoke. They'd made it. Somehow. May 29th, 8 p.m., Dover Harbor. Sundowner emerged from smoke like a ghost ship. The harbor master counted soldiers stepping off. 30, 50, 80, 100, 127. He inspected the yacht, speechless. "Physically impossible. You broke every maritime law in existence." Lightoller handed him the compass. "I broke the same laws in 1912. This time it worked." A Navy officer demanded his navigation method. Lightoller showed him the Titanic logbook, pages of current calculations, weight distributions, drift patterns. The officer read, then looked up. "You used Titanic data for Dunkirk?" "Same ocean, same physics, different ending." Soldiers reported he'd sung with them, never showed fear, navigated blind through 6 hours of bombardment. The harbormaster found bullet holes, bomb shrapnel, embedded in the hull. Sundowner was still floating, barely. One soldier approached Lightoller, shook his hand. "You saved us." Lightoller looked at the compass, its needle finally still. "No, I failed 500 people once. Today, I saved 127, still not even close." The boat built for pleasure had become a vessel of salvation. The man built for guilt had become something else entirely. June 1, 1940, Admiralty Office, London. Winston Churchill personally reviewed Lightoller's voyage report. Navy experts tested his current calculations. Mathematically sound, perfectly executed. They realized his Titanic survival wasn't luck. It was skill applied to the worst possible conditions. Churchill ordered the method classified, distributed to all rescue vessels. Over the next 3 days, Lightoller's compass technique saved an additional 800 men. He refused medals, publicity, interviews. A reporter tracked him to his boathouse. "You're a hero twice." Lightoller kept polishing the compass. "Heroes are dead. I'm just a fisherman who remembers too much," the reporter pressed. His wife intervened, pulled the reporter aside. "He has nightmares, still sees their faces, every single person who died on Titanic. He counts them in his sleep, every night for 28 years. The reporter left without a story. Lightoller sat alone in his boathouse holding the compass. The glass was cracked from a bomb shockwave. The needle still pointed true. He'd saved 127 men from Dunkirk. But at night, he still saw 1,500 ghosts from Titanic. Salvation didn't erase the dead. It just added new faces to remember. June 1940, Lightoller returned to his fishing routine like nothing happened. Sundowner needed $400 in repairs. The hull was compromised, engine damaged, deck splintered. He had $12. He made a decision that stunned his wife. Sold his Titanic Survivor medal to pay for yacht restoration. The soldiers he saved tracked him down, pooled money, tried to pay him. He refused every penny. One soldier asked why he risked everything. Lightoller's answer became legendary. "At Titanic, I followed orders and watched them die. I loaded lifeboats half empty because that's what the rules said. 500 people drowned because I followed rules. Never again." His son revealed the truth to close friends. Father wakes up counting. 128, 129, 130. Every night, adding more numbers, trying to save them all. His wife. "He's still trying to save everyone. He'll never stop." The compass glass stayed cracked. He never repaired it. "It broke saving them," he told his son. "Like me. But we both made it home." The price of salvation was remembering everyone you couldn't save. He paid it every single night. July 1940. Through interrogated POWs, German intelligence discovered Lightoller's role at Dunkirk. U-boat command issued an order. Locate and sink the Titanic officer's fishing vessel on site. Lightoller learned of the threat through Royal Navy contacts. Kept fishing daily anyway. The Navy offered protection, destroyers to escort his fishing trips. He declined. "I survived Titanic without destroyers. I'll survive U-boats the same way." The truth emerged slowly through military intelligence. He'd saved 127 men because he'd remembered Titanic's exact failures. Overloaded lifeboats sank in 1912 because weight wasn't distributed correctly. He'd calculated maximum weight distribution. Titanic's drift taught him ocean current patterns. He'd applied them to the English Channel. His fishing trips after Dunkirk were actually training sessions. He taught 60 civilian boat captains his techniques. Before D-Day, 1944, the Royal Navy estimated his methods saved an additional 2,000 lives indirectly. One disaster's lesson became another generation's salvation. The brass compass that survived Titanic's sinking became the tool that saved thousands at Dunkirk. But Lightoller never celebrated. "I'm just correcting old mistakes," he said, 28 years late. War ended. Dunkirk veterans organized a reunion, searched for the old fisherman with the Titanic medal. They found him in Surrey, still fishing, still polishing the cracked compass. The 127 soldiers pooled 12,000, massive sum for working men, bought him full new yacht. Lightoller cried for the first time since 1912. One soldier brought his newborn son. Named him Charles. After you. Lightoller held the baby, hands shaking. Why? Because you gave me a life to live. Wanted to honor that. All 127 men survived the war, married, had children, built lives. Dunkirk almost stole. Lightoller did math in his head. Titanic took 500 lives. Dunkirk gave me a 127 back. Still not even. They asked about the compass. He showed them the cracked glass, the tarnished brass, the needle still pointing true. It broke saving you, like me, but we both made it home. They understood. Redemption wasn't forgetting the dead, it was honoring them by saving the living. The compass sat between them, no longer just a navigation tool. It was proof that catastrophe could teach salvation if you paid attention to every single mistake. Charles Lightoller died, age 78. The compass was buried with him. Obituaries focused on Titanic, barely mentioned Dunkirk. History remembered the disaster, not the redemption. But 127 veterans attended his funeral, more than any Titanic survivor's service. His son found the Titanic logbook in the safe. Every current calculation, every mistake analyzed, every lesson learned. The final entry, written May 28, 1940. Today, I correct 1912. The Royal Navy requested the logbook for training purposes. His family refused. Some knowledge was too personal to institutionalize. His grandson eventually donated the compass to the Imperial War Museum. The museum label read, used at Titanic 1912 and Dunkirk 1940. Cracked glass preserved as found. Visitors touched the cracked glass. Museum legend claimed it brought safe passage. Churchill's classified memo was released decades later. Lightoller's current reading method, now standard protocol for all channel operations. One man's catastrophe became his redemption and Britain's tactical blueprint. The compass that guided him through history's worst maritime disaster and engineered history's most impossible rescue. The crack in the glass remained, a permanent reminder that sometimes what breaks you also saves you. Dunkirk's 84th anniversary. 3 survivors remained alive. The last veteran, age 102, gave an interview. He sang with us, never left anyone behind, never showed fear. Lightoller's compass became Britain's most touched museum artifact. More visitors than the crown jewels some days. Families of the 127 soldiers gathered annually at his grave in Surrey. Someone always left a brass compass. His yacht Sundowner, fully restored, sat in Dover Maritime Museum. The capacity plaque read, designed for 21, saved, 27, May 1940. Historians calculated the ripple effect. Without Lightoller's Titanic knowledge, 127 men die at Dunkirk. Those 127 men fathered 340 children, 800 grandchildren, thousands of great-grandchildren. One descendant became a Royal Navy captain. My great-grandfather owes him everything. Our entire family exists because one man remembered his mistakes. The compass glass remained cracked, preserved exactly as Dunkirk left it, never repaired, never restored. A permanent testament to the moment, ordinary brass became legendary. The man who couldn't save the Titanic spent 28 years preparing to save Dunkirk. Same ocean, same physics, different ending.